Hey, hi everyone. My name is Yash, and today I welcome you back to my YouTube channel Crazy Cloud. This is the 13th video of LWC learning series, and in this video, we'll be discussing about the parent to child communication in LWC. So, without getting any delay, let's get started. So, before diving deep into the parent to child communication, first let's understand what is communication and what is just a second, what is parent and what is child and why this communication is important, right? So first let's understand what is communication. So in the lamest term, what we understand by communication is to transfer the data from one component to another component. So suppose we are having two components, two LWC components into our project, and I want to pass data from one component to another component, and the same way I want to pass data from second component to the first component back. So this is known as the communication, right? So whenever two humans interacts, they exchange some information, that is called communication. The same way, when two LWC interacts, they share some information, they share some data, right? That is communication in LWC, correct? So now let's understand what is parent and what is child. So suppose here it is a component, which is LWC obviously. So whenever we use one LWC component inside another LWC component, right? So the main component is known as the parent one, and the another component is known as the child one, right? So here A component is parent and B component is child because we have used B component inside A component, correct? So this is parent and child. So now let's understand what is parent to child. So suppose there is one let's say input box into the A component, and whatever user types into this input box, I want to send this data into the B component. So this will be known as the parent to child, right? And whenever I want to pass data from child to parent, it will be known as child to parent. Okay, so in LWC we do have three types of communication. The first one is parent to child, another one is child to parent, and third one is the communication between two independent components, correct? When we say independent, which means no, not this component is used into this component, neither this way, right? So parent to child works like this. This is parent, this is child, parent to child this, and child to parent this, right? And third one is the uh, normal communication, which like between two independent components, just send data from here to there and then here to there, right? Okay, so in this video we'll be talking about the P2C only, parent to child only. In the next video we'll be talking about child to parent, and in the next to next video we'll be talking about the communication between two independent components, correct? So now let's go to our VS Code and let's understand how to create parent and child components. So I'm just creating one component as component parent component, right? And one more component I am creating, which will be child component, correct? So here in this example, what I am trying to explain you is we'll be creating one input box into the parent component and pass the value of that input box into our child component on to click of some button, right? Okay, so now let's go to open our parent component and here open our child component HTML and okay. So into parent component, what I said, we just will just create one lightning input box, right, with the label as enter something to send in file component, correct, and into on change we'll be calling handle change. So guys, this on change attribute, we all know that this is used to capture the data whatever user is entering into the input box, right? Nothing else is required for now. First, let's use lightning card here to beautify this component card, and into this lightning card we'll use lightning input. The title is parent component, correct, and class would be slds hyphen slds card underscore body underscore inner, right? Okay, and into the js file we'll just use one handle change method, and inside this handle change, okay, first let's create a property value in parent, correct, and I'll just capture the input box value inside this value in parent, right? So value in parent would be equals to, we all know that how to capture the data, event dot detail dot value, correct, and here we'll accept one event parameter. Okay, so here inside our, here I'll create one lightning button, label would be click, or let's say send data, and variant should be brand only, and on click of this button I'll call handle click, correct, and handle click I'll define in our HTML JavaScript, correct. Let's save these component, and let me copy this meta XML. Okay, so now let me tell you something. So here we have created one parent component, and inside this parent component I have created one lightning input and a button. So whatever user types in this lightning input box, this is parent, right? So whatever user types in this lightning input, I'll just store this value inside one variable, right? And on to click of this button, what I will do, I'll just pass this variable into our child component. This is our child, right? So to show this, or to accept the value from parent, we need one variable in child as well, right? Otherwise, into which container this child component will store that value, right? So here we'll declare one variable. Let's say value from child, value from child, right? Value from parent, sorry, value from parent, right? This variable we will create into the child component just to store the value which is being passed from the parent component, correct. But how this parent component will access this property, because this is in the different component, and this is the different component. So how parent component will access the properties of the child component, correct? So to access this property, to make this property public, we use at the rate API decorators. If you do not know what is at the rate API decorator, I'll just provide the link in the description. You can just go and watch my previous video. I have explained everything about the at the rate API decorators. Okay, so just go to our child component and let's create one variable which is value from parent, correct? Right now parent component cannot access this property because this is in child and this is not public, right? To make this public we need to mark it as at the rate API, at the rate API, right? And first we need to import API decorator, correct? Okay, now what I'll do, I'll just use this value from parent inside value from parent, correct? This is child component. Okay, now we have done everything, but we haven't decided which is the parent component and which is the child component. We just created two components with name parent and name child, right? But how can we define that this is the child and this is the parent? Correct. To define these things, what we use, we saw that whenever we use one component into another component, right? So here I'll just use the child component into the parent component so that parent component will be parent and child component will be child. So to use another component inside another component in the markup in the HTML, we need to use this and then C hyphen the name of the child component. So name is child component, correct? So this is the way we you know we just make two components, parent and child, right? So here we have made a mistake. What is the mistake? So whenever whenever we have a capital letter into any component name, this letter will get replaced by hyphen and the small character, right? So here we have C capital. So C would get replaced by hyphen C, right? Now we have embedded the child component into the parent component, and to access this value from parent, we'll just pass this value, this variable into the child markup, and child markup is this. So value from parent would be equals to the value of value from parent would be the value in parent, correct? But here we are getting one more error, and see what is the error. Value parent attribute, all attribute names should be in lowercase, but here we have some capital letters. So to remove the capital letters, what we do is hyphen small letter, correct? This is the way we use child properties, value from parent. And here if you see, value from parent consists of capital F and capital P, correct? Okay, so now value from parent is this, and let's first deploy this child component. Guys, if you are getting confused by these terminologies or anything, you can always ping me on LinkedIn, or you can always ask the question into the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed this channel yet, please go and subscribe it, correct? Okay, now let's deploy these components into our pages. And also please try to give me some feedbacks because this is the first time I'm just making some videos and everything. So I might not be able to, explain you something. But yes, every time you can just, you know, give me feedbacks. Okay, so here let's search for parent component, correct? And in parent we have the child already. So let's save this. We might have missed something in the SLDS hyphen card. Okay. Always try to use this class to just, beautify your component. I personally do not like those components who do not have good CSS, right? Okay, let's hard refresh this. Okay, so currently see, this is this parent component, this what's say input box and this button is the parent component, but this line is in child component. Why this line is coming? Because we have used our child component here, correct? And here this is the static value. But what about this? We haven't passed anything yet, correct? So, okay. So this send data would not do anything because everything we are just handling into the handle change only. So you can just remove this component, this button. So let me type yes. You see, onto the change of the onto the change of this input box values, as I type y, and it would go onto the on change. On change will assign this value to value in parent, and value in parent will automatically get passed into value from parent, which is a value from parent is a variable into child, correct? So this is how we communicate from parent to child, correct? Guys, if you are having any doubt regarding this, you can always ping me, you can always ask to me, right? Okay, now this was about the variable thing, right? What about if I just want to call the method which exists in the child component from my parent component, correct? So suppose this was just a normal variable, right? Anybody can call this. But what about the method? Say I am having a child method in here, and let's say here I have put it down some log child method called, correct? I just want to call this method from the parent component onto, or let's say onto click of this button, this handle click, this button, I just want to call I just want to call the method of child component. What I can do, I'll just in this handle click, I'll just fetch the complete child component, and inside the child component I'll just use the method. And okay, one more thing, to access this method which is in child component, I need to use @API, correct? So first let's just deploy this one. So we know that how to access the normal variables into the parent component is this way, right? But how can I call this method? Methods cannot be directly written down like this, right? So what we can do, there is a way. This dot, let me write first and I'll explain you. Query selector Here we just need to use the child markup dot the method name. Correct. Let's deploy this one. What I have done is we have a button, click here, send data here, and on to click of this button I'm just calling handle click. And in handle click what I'm doing is I'm just getting this component, the complete child component, and then dot the name of the method, child method. So this way you can just fetch, or you can just store the complete child component. This dot template dot query selector, and inside the query selector it accepts one parameter, which is the child markup. And what is the child markup? C hyphen child component. Correct. So this is the way we call a child component method from parent component. Let's hard refresh this. Okay, I'll just click this send data, and send data. What it will do is it will just call the method of child component. Send data. You see, child method called, and child method called is a log into the child component. So this is how we communicate from parent to child. One more thing, let me tell you one more thing. So whenever we pass data from parent to child into a particular variable, so right now we are just passing the value from parent to child inside this value from parent variable, right? It is a variable into the child, and which is decorated with at the rate API. We cannot change the value of value from parent inside the child component, correct? Because it is being declared as at the rate API, and value like basically parent component, now the parent component owns this variable, correct? So suppose parent component passed value 5 into this value from parent. You cannot change this value from 5 to 10 inside this child component. If you want to do so, you can just go to the parent component, pass the value 10, or you can just create one more variable here, clone this property, and then make some changes, right? You cannot not directly write down like this inside the child component value from parent equals to hey. You cannot do like this, right? It will give you error, correct? So always keep in mind that we cannot change the value of at the rate API variable inside the child component, correct? So this was it for this video. I hope you guys were able to understand this video. If not, then you can always ping me on LinkedIn, or you can ask the doubts into the comment section.